guys, welcome to another broadcast today, and we're doing it from Africa as always. And today we host Roselyne Wanjiru. Roselyne Wanjiru represents Pesabase. She is the marketing manager at Pesabase, and nice to have you here today, Roselyne.
Thank you so much. It's my honor to be here.
Awesome. So maybe for someone who doesn't know you, where in the world are you today, and who are you for our viewers maybe?
All right, I'm tuned in from Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya, and delighted to have today's discussion. I'm an economist who delved into the digital economy, so you will find a lot of my social media posts have to do with advocating for tech, emerging technology basically, and what opportunities are there for youth, corporates, government, and private sector.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe let's talk about Pesabase. Tell us about your journey with Pesabase, and maybe how did Pesabase come to life?
Right. So Pesabase was actually born out of a solution that was, how do I say, the founder. Let me just begin with the founder. His name is Niall Majok. He's a born South Sudan, Australian national, worked with IBM for about 14 years. And in 2013, he got to know about the cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin at the time. So in seeing the some of the aspects of cryptocurrencies as payments gateways that are international and with low cost, high speed transfers, it really made sense for especially a corridor between Australia and East Africa, where let's say you want to trade with someone who's in Uganda, Rwanda, just next door, really. You don't have to go too far. And from the process of you having to set up your accounts, it will take time. It will be quite costly for you to just send money next door. And transaction fees, I think, are any business person's headache in terms of, you want to reduce that overhead, especially when you want to consider cost savings, right? So that came in as a perfect solution, especially considering South Sudan as one of the most affected countries when we consider the aspects of civil war and recovery, nation building, really. So that made perfect sense because, well, for Kenya, we have M-Pesa. That's a huge win for us. But the rest of East Africa doesn't necessarily have the same setup and success with M-Pesa, although it's available in those countries. So Pesabase then was born as a remittance solution that is literally meant to serve this market and solving two problems. One is interconnectivity. Secondly is just transaction cost and time. With that, then you can understand why Pesabase is now a premier payment solution, and we've just made it simple. You can actually send money on Pesabase within 20 seconds and for just 1%. How is that possible? Blockchain technology, because it's just that you are limiting the barriers to people being able to transact. And the simplest way I can explain blockchain is that you're bringing the peer to the center. It's you and I being able to transact at will and at any time without so many barriers in between our transactions. So that is the story of Pesabase. We've grown. And really just, I would say that Australia to East Africa is our primary market, but this is the first of many more steps of growth.
Okay. Maybe for someone who doesn't understand the model of the business, what would you say? How does Pesabase work?
Pesabase works as a payment service. Then I would say, in comparison to M-Pesa, for instance, you'd have to pay a transaction fee, for instance, when you withdraw and when you send certain amounts of money, right? So with Pesabase, it's similar. That's really, actually, within the payments industry, it's that if, for instance, you sending someone else money is free on the platform, then you'll find that there are other transaction charges that are related to like withdrawal or transferring certain transaction bans. So that's the simple business model.
Wow. And how does that then work with blockchain?
Right. So blockchain is, I would say, something that happens behind the scenes. You as a user will not see or transact or interact with the blockchain. You won't even have to worry about which blockchain are you using, how much of the transaction fees are you paying. No, that is the developer's headache because they're the ones who are ensuring the security of the system. You as the user will only see your balance, your contacts, your profile, and the ability to send money. That's it. Because a lot of the objections that have to do with cryptocurrencies and blockchain are that it's such a complicated user experience, especially when you talk about private keys, public keys, and all these technical terms that people feel very uncomfortable talking about at some point. But
Yeah.
the future of blockchain is that it's going to be such a behind the scenes kind of technology, but fundamental to our transactions, that we won't think about how we're using it. Like right now, we are online. I don't know if you're using 3G, 4G, or 5G. I don't know if you're using IPv4 or 6 protocol. I have no idea, and I didn't bother to ask. I just wanted to know I am online, you're online, we can talk. That's it. So blockchain is going to be similar in that sense, that it's going to be behind the scenes. The platforms behind the database will transact, the transactions will be recorded, the transactions will be saved somewhere on a distributed network. You and I,
Yeah.
as the users, only will think about the transactions. That have I sent it to you? Yes, that's it. Have you received the whatever I sent you? Yes, that's it. Have you confirmed this? Yes, that's it. And that's where the sea of adoption really is waiting.
Okay. And maybe are you using a blockchain platform that is known, or is it something blockchain of your own?
So Pesabase itself is built on Cello, that is CELO, and Cello
Okay.
is one of the most mobile friendly blockchains that
Yeah.
are in existence right now. Quite confidently, I can say that. And you can see this by proof of how many projects have been built in the last year. Just last week, Cello celebrated its first year anniversary. And in this first year anniversary, hundreds of teams have been collaborating virtually just to build their payment solution. Some are payment solutions, others are, just there's so many different categories that I can't break them all down right now. But Cello's vision is to create prosperity for all. In
Yeah.
its simple vision, then you can see why, and again, why targeting mobile, because if we talk in terms of numbers, Africa median age is about 19. So that means that literally, if you are above 19, you're on the higher end of age. If you're
Yeah.
under 19, then you can tell the population is majority on the younger side of life, right? Now that's just 19. In terms of, we'll be about 1.2 billion, 1.5 billion people in the next 5-10 years, right? So of these 1.2 billion people, over 80%, if not 90, access internet services via their phone. We're talking about 625 million people who just have either a SIM card or a phone, just basic, that's not even internet enabled. But again, about 30% of people who have at least some form of smartphone or multiple devices that can go online. Therefore, that tells you that of these people who can access most services on their phone, really, the social media apps, some form of communication, email, or even a work application for those who work from home or remotely, then the need for these people to get laptops then does not quite make sense. So this is not just unique to Africa, really around the world. It's way cheaper to get a mobile phone than a laptop, right? So it just makes sense to build blockchain and make it to have mobile friendly platforms in that sense, because majority of the world really is going to be mobile. We will have at least 3 trillion devices by 2030, and majority of those will just be really easy to go online, mobile, and not necessarily laptop.
Wow. Apart
Yeah,
from that reason, are there any other fundamental reasons as to why you chose to work with Cello?
those are the key reasons, actually, because I would say, even as a business, when you're considering a partner or an institution that's going to come on board as an advisor or support in one way or another, you have to consider, do you have the same synergy in terms of vision? Are
Yeah.
you looking at the same future that you're trying to create? Because if you do not agree fundamentally on vision, it will be very hard to set in place other values and fundamentals. So your vision, your values, your goals, and even your working relationship, it has to be of a very healthy nature, because you can't really work with someone who 90% of the time in conflict. Yes, there's room for healthy conflict, but over and above, you need to be headed in the same direction. So technical infrastructure, business mentorship, vision, and that really was just the perfect recipe really for us to work with the Cello ecosystem.
Okay. And about
Yeah.
geographical presence, how many countries are you present in?
Pesabase or Cello?
Pesabase.
All right. So Pesabase, right now, as I said, Australia to East Africa. So not more than 10 countries to begin with, because it's still in the initial stages.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
how is it going in these countries? How do you find business in all the different countries that you are in right now?
We're actually employing a strategy whereby we build partnerships and on rails and on ramps, off ramps, so that anyone who is able to use Pesabase or is actually, okay, first of all, definitely a mobile user, has to be a mobile user. So we have to be able to reach out to the mobile networks that are in their countries, or at least serving their countries, so that they can get services like verification via phone number, via email as well. And really, that's the basic, I would say, that's the basic outreach that we're looking at.
Okay. You just
Yeah.
mentioned partnerships. Maybe what are some of the notable companies that you've partnered with so far?
For one, MTN. So MTN is actually gonna give us one of the biggest access in terms of on ramps to off ramps, because MTN is spread in at least more, well, 15 countries, more than 15 countries, and millions of users. So this being on a modest estimate, even if we're able to serve just 10% or 30% of MTN users in the next 5 years, that will be a really huge win for us, because it's not just about Pesabase as a business, but you being able to go to any African country and simply with your wallet not have to go through very, very long processes in terms of you setting up and you being able to transact. And why is this important? When you consider the Africa Free Trade Continental Agreement, the AFCTFA, however
Yeah.
you'd say that,
Yeah.
it's opening up trade for Africa basically as the largest continental trade area in the world.
Yeah.
55 countries, 54 signatories at least. And this means that I should be able to sell my products as a young entrepreneur, not just
Yeah.
based in Kenya. I should be able to see markets in Uganda. I should be able to see Tanzania. I should be able to see Morocco, Algeria, Namibia, Cameroon, DRC, and not just see them as far away from me, but my neighbors, my potential market. If I am a creative artist, I should be able to see myself selling my craft there and not being able to worry about distribution channels. I should be able to
Yeah.
say that if I get orders for 100,000 art pieces, or uh, let's say a ton of clothes or something, I should be able to partner with both suppliers, both locally and on the ground in the other country, so that
Yeah.
these cash flows actually get in. Because when especially we consider another factor to do with employment, we cannot all look at formal employment, which is factually, I think, everyone's headache right now, because
Yeah.
the pandemic has just taught us you cannot just sit tight and be comfortable with where you are. You need to be able to see what value can you offer in your community. What are you going to do when your industry is disrupted, because that's something that's beyond your control. It's not even about you becoming the best professional in your area. You just have to
Yeah.
be able to think outside the box, which is really a fact of life. So
Yeah.
when we have opportunities as big as the free trade continental agreement in place, the thing is, how do we maximize that? And then how do payment services and telcos come in as enablers to that? Because we will need to have economic recovery. That's a given at whatever stage or age you find yourself in. Economic recovery is it's a must have. It's a conversation we must have. It's
Yeah.
it's we have to be able to rebuild. We have to be able to give each other that hope, because we've seen the extent of desperation and devastation that it has had on our economies, right? So we are the ones to begin the conversation. We are the ones to trade. We're the ones to pay. We're the ones to, help each other's families back into a healthier space post the pandemic, and even in the midst of it, because we're not sure how long that will go, but that's for another day. So the thing is that Pesabase is specifically positioned to be an enabler in such a budding space in Africa.
Yeah. You seem to be very passionate about the Africa being a free trade area and the agreement that's being worked on right now. Do you have maybe a strategy around it as Pesabase, and how is
Not
that?
specific. All right, so not specifically at the moment. This is my personal reflection that okay,
Yeah,
I like just having my eye on what's really going on, because if you don't see what's going on around you, you will be easily passed by events, right? So in any, it's not just about even watching the trends, but just being able to understand the grand scheme of things. So if
yeah,
you don't have that perspective, then you will not be able to strategize accordingly, even on a personal or corporate level. So that's just saying that for Pesabase, we are strategically positioned at such a time as this, that there's this free trade agreement in place. It's not a magic bullet to trade. There's so many challenges that have to be addressed, both
yeah,
systemic and cultural, language barriers, and
yeah,
on. It's not that the free trade agreement is a silver bullet that now, because we have it, we will become the most profitable trade area in the world. It's a
yeah,
step in the right direction. It's an opportunity for people to take up. So there still has to be, the layers, the education, trust being built across borders,
yeah,
partnerships being set in place. So it's that we have this opportunity to work together. That's all I'm gonna emphasize for this.
yeah. Uh, Maybe let me just ask, what are some of the other challenges, and how do you think, as an individual, apart from Africa being a free trade area, what are some of the other things that you think should be done, especially by individuals and not just specifically governments or companies,
In what regard?
in regards to making Africa integrating business, in terms of, Africa has so many countries with so many cultures, and these countries working together is not as easy as it looks. But there are some things I feel individuals, maybe startups, founders, and just citizens of these countries can do to make it easier, and, as you said, like a step towards the right direction.
Yeah, so in that, I would say just extend a green leaf. What does that mean? If
Yeah,
you have a service in a different country, apart from your host country, have some form of translation for
or
your clients.
yeah,
That's one very simple way of going. It's not that it's not that you will get a translator, right off the bat, but it's one of the simplest ways to actually make someone feel safe, understood, and that you're reaching out to them.
yeah,
Uh, it's not that it's a silver bullet in itself again, but I say it's an opportunity, because there are other ramps to building relationships that must be in place, because when you consider especially regional conflicts historically that have happened, and the
yeah,
challenges of you just being able to set up in another country, will you be received, will you be accepted, will you feel at home, and what does it take for you to win a community's trust? So that is where the answer lies. If you're going to go to another country, to another community, you need to be patient. You can't just step in there and then you want to sell everything to everyone. That's just unrealistic, because even they are trying to make they're trying to make a way for themselves. They're trying to make a decent living for their families. So you're not just going to show up in someone's doorstep and then you want to be the biggest business in Africa. No, have
yeah,
play the long game, and in playing the long game, have the partnerships over time being built, because if you're impatient, then forget it.
yeah, yeah. Makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense. Maybe back to Pesabase. How big is your team, and is your team working remotely? Do you have an office in Nairobi, or how does your team work?
Yes, most of us are remote, simply because of the restrictions that are at play. Small team where there's there's a team in Australia, a team in Kenya, a team in Juba and Uganda.
Okay. Yeah. I can visit you guys in Nairobi. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Now that let's talk a bit of marketing. You are the marketing lead. What are some of the strategies you're implementing at Pesabase to scale?
Well, for a peer-to-peer platform such as ours, then that is primary like word of mouth affiliate. We're looking to develop an affiliate program, of course, and digital marketing very huge for us. So those I would say are the three tiers of marketing that we're looking at.
Okay. Are you implementing them right now? Are they future plans?
As at different stages, yes. Simply because with the payments landscape, you also have to be as compliant and work with compliance as much as possible. Because you see, as let me look for an example. Okay,
Yeah.
like there's this saying that innovation beats regulation or tends to go ahead of regulation. So yes, the app is existent, but there are protocols that have been put in place especially for customer protection. And if
Yeah.
these laws have not been incorporated, for instance, into the back end itself, like through blockchain, then we have to at least operate in good faith, or get the proper documentation and show as much as possible within our reporting and our compliance that we are working within, of course, these frameworks that have been set in place. One of the, I think, challenges that has been a headache for so many crypto companies is you
Yeah.
have permissionless innovation. And this permissionless innovation has put you in direct contact with your clientele, your market, right? But
Yeah.
you're operating within a world that has regulations, and you cannot wish these regulations away. So how do you bring in the two? Because you have to show your users that you are working in good faith, that you will not, you will not mishandle their funds. You will respond to their complaints or their needs and their requests for help for as long as they're using your platform, and they will have your support. And to the regulators, you have to show that you're also operating in good faith. You're not just acting like a law unto yourself. So
Yeah.
this is where especially crypto companies within the next 5 to 10 years will be, in terms of building the best possible environment to show both regulators and users, especially as you're looking to scale beyond the first 100 million, your next 50 million, your next 100,000, that you're working in good faith enough to offer this service with confidence that it's not going to back out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. You speaking of regulation, we have seen so much going on in terms of regulation in Africa. Some countries, some companies have really had it tough during the past few months, I'd say. What do you think in terms of especially crypto companies finding themselves in very tough positions during this? Some of this, especially, let me give an example of Nigeria. The other day, we just saw their central bank ban individuals from using bank accounts and legally registered companies transacting money directly with crypto-related companies. What do you think about that first?
The governments or financial authorities are well within their right to act actually first in protection of the economy, and second, the economy and citizens, not economy and second citizens. It's that even the central bank's mandate is more toward the economy. Financial authority, really, that's how they work.
Yeah.
Their um, their very existence is protected by the law and governed by the law, such that their very first mandate really is the citizens and the economy. Now,
Yeah.
in that view, I would put it as, if you consider, even if it's like your own home setup, you protect your home, you take care of your home. Any visitor who comes needs to follow the culture of your home. Now,
Very.
at this point in time, cryptocurrencies are like visitors in our economy, because they haven't hit like 50 million strong in any individual country, right?
Yeah.
So we cannot quite put that pressure on regulators to make the same rules for visitors as for residents, and that's really part of the. I would say that's one of the maybe simplest ways to explain the current landscape in terms of regulation. So it's a headache, definitely, because this visitor is here to stay. And
Yeah.
more people within the house want this visitor to stay, right? But the head of the home is the one who really will have to facilitate this working relationship between resident and visitors. Now, the for crypto companies, it's about playing the long game and really just trying to see how to work around, of course, obvious limitations that are there, because it's not that you've been halted at the door doesn't mean that you will never step into that home. Maybe you
Mm.
just need to come at another time, right?
Mm.
When
Yeah.
things have been put in order. So this is not to say that crypto companies should just sit, wait, and do nothing. It's to find the workaround that will work for them, because like for Nigeria, P2P services are really picking up, and that's working for people. So the more you will follow such trends in, especially P2P permission, just P2P, I would say platforms, payments on rails and off rails. It's about also how aware people are, how comfortable people will be to use these platforms. Because if they're not comfortable, if they're not aware, then game over, really. So it's about these crypto companies still reaching out to their communities, their users, and having that sense of assurance that yes, this visitor may not be expressly allowed home by the head of the home, but it doesn't mean that you cannot see this visitor ever again. So that's
Yeah.
why then people, of course, must observe caution, put in due diligence, because cryptocurrencies are not that silver bullet for your finances that if you buy this crypto then you're going to be rich tomorrow. No, you need to have the due diligence. Financial literacy, this is where also personal finance coaches and teams and education outfits are stepping into the gap, because they are the ones that are going to create the demand, even within the population, not just for Kenya, but really all across the board. Because the more people are aware of other asset classes apart from cryptocurrencies, the
Yeah.
better place they are actually to decide whether they want to go for crypto or not. Because one of the things that really prompted deregulation, or at least bans related to cryptocurrencies, was 2017. There were so many scams, and you could literally not even count them off your hand, because they just had bit something on it and called it and just copy pasted any other name that they wanted to add on to their outfit, because they decided that because it has bit something, and you will see Bitcoin and you will not really think about bit the difference between bit this one and bit that one and Bitcoin. And they promise you some returns that you've never heard about in your life. And they say that if Bitcoin did this, then we too can do this. And you see, I mean, it was very chaotic, but that was the gist of every scam that ever popped up. They told you they are bit something, they are like Bitcoin, they will do the same and even better than Bitcoin. And they, of course, had the testimonials to show you that they traveled, they invested, now they're billionaires, they're billionaires. Look at their account, and wow, they bedazzled you, and that was it. So, a lot of people lost money, unfortunately, life savings, and some took loans that they're still repaying to date.
Yeah.
It was very painful. Now, since there was no regulation in place to protect people in such a case scenario, you can understand why governments would be especially cautionary. Because if, for instance, I came to you and you're the regulator, and I tell you someone has scammed me, how will you help me? And the scammer has disappeared. The money is gone,
Very
first
true.
of all. So are okay, maybe you'll arrest someone or that's connected to the scammer, but this scammer is not necessarily going to repay that money immediately,
Yeah.
and that's the headache with regulation. That yes, you're a crypto company going to offer a service, but what guarantees there in place that your service either won't be hacked, or such an unforeseen circumstance as that would cause just all these challenges to affect how you offer your service to your users. So for those that are able to pivot their businesses into one aspect or another that's sustainable, that's great. For those that are not able to pivot, play the long game. You don't have, well, I can't speak to your direct strategy right now, but we all in the crypto industry have to play the long game.
Very true. Eesh. Wow. Maybe that prompts me to ask, what do you think of the future of crypto in Africa, especially?
Crypto is here to stay, simply because we can look at, let's say, hyperinflation. We are all, we are all affected in one way or another by inflation, and I won't even get into details for that. Prices simply go up. The simplest definition is that prices are going up over time. 1,000 shillings now cannot buy you what 1,000 shillings could have bought you 5 years ago. And
Yeah.
there's a famous saying in Nairobi that once you get change for 1,000 shillings, it's just consider it that it's disappeared, and that is inflation for you. So, um, in considering literally a threat, um, I use that word carefully, threat to our financial future. Yes, let me call it a, yeah. I say it's not. It's, I wouldn't say it's a massive threat, but it's a considerable threat, because if you just have your money lying in a savings account and every year it's going to reduce by the percentage inflation that's there,
Yeah.
it just means that even if you save more, you're going to have less money over time to just do the most basic of things. Ask anyone right now who's trying to save, and they're just going to tell you how much of a headache it is to save, because you pay for this, you pay for that.
Yeah.
By the time you save, your money is gone. Well, it's great for those who are in at least circles and chamas, because they can, they actually have to save to be there. But
Yeah.
for the people who do not have that accountability in saving, then your money is just disappearing over time, and that's a big headache, because are you going to replace the money that's gone with more income? Not necessarily. So crypto then is here as an alternative to that, because while cryptocurrencies are in contrast to normal currency, it's that normal currency can be printed over time by the central authority. That's why we call it legal tender, like the Kenya shilling. But cryptocurrencies, on the other hand, have a limitation to their supply. That by a program, it's a computer program that dictates that this cryptocurrency cannot go beyond a certain supply, which is why some of them can go up in value over time instead of their value going down.
Yeah.
So simple logic that if I hold a specific amount of saving in cryptocurrency versus another asset, then it's going to appreciate over time. That's the basic. It's not a promise of getting rich quick. And I put that as a very heavy disclaimer, because a lot of
Yeah.
people ask, if I put in this money, when am I going to get it? I'm like, no, just don't, because even with if you start a business and let's say you open a grocery shop or let's say even a food joint, it's not going
Yeah.
to give you profit the next week, because
Very
even if you're
true.
making sales, you have costs, you have overheads, you have to hire people, you have to take care of their business. So it's cryptocurrencies are not just magic money that are going to make you rich. So yes, there are those people who have traded and made their gains, that they have taken time, they have their strategies. Don't just try to copy them. That's a whole discussion for another day. Point is, cryptocurrencies are here to stay, and the easier they get to use, the better they will be as an alternative, especially when you consider community currencies. Others, there'll be central bank digital currencies, though I'm not sure particularly that there's an African country that's actively pursuing a strategy or looking to deploy a strategy on central bank digital currencies. But I think Rwanda so far has been on the forefront for that. So maybe the next 5-10 years we'll see a development on that. But the fact is that even if we do not adopt cryptocurrencies all across the continent, the fact is that they've given us the appetite for lower transaction costs and making our money borderless. So if they're the
That's
first to serve the purpose, then why don't we use them?
very true. Wow. Let me ask. There's so many money transfer platforms. Let me use Kenya as an example. In Nairobi, there are so many money transfer platforms. Why Pesabase?
Right. So, as I said earlier on, we're looking at connecting Africa financially. And how are we doing that? In just 20 seconds, you can make your transaction. And 20 seconds is literally, you can hold your breath within that time frame, even longer. You can hold your breath for about 30 seconds. If you can't hold your breath for 30 seconds, please check your health.
Yeah.
Okay. But the point is, within just 20 seconds, so we are reducing the time and making it very easy, just 1% pesa base to pesa base. So lowering the cost, lowering the time that it takes, making it very easy for you so that you don't have to think about creating so many accounts, following through with so much paperwork. Yes, there is a platform for you doing your identity verification. KYC is very important. That is, know your customer. But it's that we've made this process as simple as possible so that anyone can use the service.
Okay. And maybe how are you seeing adoption, and how is your product being taken so far?
Right. So far so good. As it is with any business, there's that phase of growth. So before you're known, before you're widely out there, millions of users, it's that you're proving you're building the initial relationships. So that's where we are.
Yeah.
The first since the first year of this is still the first year of the platform itself being in operation and production. So of course it has the challenges of sometimes like as any app really would go through, but we've really worked hard to make it simple for you at the end of the day so that you don't have to think about what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I don't know whether as the marketing lead you'll have an idea of what's going on in that sector, but as a company, do you have investors, or what's your state of funding?
Yeah, there are primarily also from the Cello ecosystem, but there have been others who have really walked the journey with us.
Yeah. You don't want to mention them.
I'm not privy like to all the agreements because some investors do choose to be mentioned expressly. Some
Yeah.
investors do not also want to be mentioned in the same way. So just have to respect that.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Uh, what do you see? What's the future of Pesabase like?
The future of Pesabase is um, let me give it in a story that even if let's say in the next like 3 4 5 years we still have travel restrictions and I have to and I want to go for a holiday to Kigali or Alexandria, I will
Okay.
book for my flights, pay with Pesabase. I will arrive there, pay for my hotel easily within my Pesabase wallet. And
Okay.
when I want to buy souvenirs, when I want to, get my meals sorted out, and when I want to just tip even the waiters, the different service professionals who are going to be there, I'll simply do it from the comfort of my phone, not having to get a new phone number, not having to get new SIM cards, not having to forget and throw away the SIM cards when I go back home. But from the time I leave Kenya to the time I get to the other country and come back for my holiday, all from the comfort of my phone, I'll be able to make these payments. No cards, no SIM cards, no plastic cards. Yeah, it's even better for the environment. So that is the future of Pesabase.
Okay. Wow. It was great having this conversation with you. You have a wealth of knowledge and experience. I wish we'd discuss more, but I think we're going to end this here. We hope to host you again. I hope next time we're going to be discussing when you are in another 10 countries. It was great hosting you. Maybe something you want to leave our viewers with today.
Wherever you're listening in from, my encouragement to you is if you want to go the business way, start. Fail early, fail fast, and fail cheaply, as someone has mentioned. But like, don't don't get stuck thinking about just your idea and if you'll be received, if you will succeed. Just get out there and do it, and hope for the best, really, because we need hope in as much as we're looking at economic recovery and surviving the effects of the pandemic as they're unfolding. To everyone who is affected, we stand with you, and this is a message of hope to you. We will make it through.
We will. Thank you so much, Roselyne. That was a good one. Bye bye, guys. See you on the next one.